Hi Sam, how are you?
Hi, Heather. I'm okay. How are you this week?
Good. It's so good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
So last week we had kind of talked about, um, if I remember right, like taking that time to take a walk, on your lunch break. Were you able to do that at all this week?
I did not every day, but I did 3 of the days, so I felt maybe a little proud of myself. I didn't think I'd honestly didn't think I'd do it that much when we left. I was a little worried it just like wouldn't happen, but I did it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. And I think you should be proud. I think any step to bettering yourself is a great accomplishment. Were you able to kind of think about how you were feeling after those walks or, like on the days you didn't take the walks?
It was hard to tell. Maybe because it's a new habit, but I was just trying to think like overall, I feel like it was good for me. Like it gave me just a little, I know, little pause from
Mhm.
things. So maybe I didn't feel quite so like overwhelmed during the work day with like all the things. It was just like, okay, like all I need to focus is just like taking this next step or like getting around the block or like whatever my kind of thing was that day. Like one day I decided to just like walk to the coffee shop and get a coffee. So I was like, okay, this is all I like have to do right now. And I guess that kind of helped me like take some of the pressure off during that. And then like I came back to work and I was like, oh great, now I have like all these emails and like everyone's like, where were you? And I'm like, okay, like I just needed like a couple minutes. So it was helpful during, and I get it's one of those things I could see maybe if I like do it a little more or like maybe find some other kind of pockets of that it'll be easier, but it was hard like having a minute and then going back and then all the pressure was just like back on and it was like, oh, I like don't feel like dealing with this right now.
Oh. So I can completely understand that, especially knowing that like you stepped away and then when you did come back, it sounds like maybe there was more to do versus if you had kind of stayed working through that time. Um, so trying to find that balance, I think, will be helpful. Um, Ultimately, the goal of what we work on together, or what we kind of look to put in place, is to kind of help overall. So if you're taking that walk and then coming back to like, messages or emails about where were you or why didn't you do this, that type of a thing, then that may not be like the most effective thing to help you through this. And that's okay. We can kind of explore other things. We can talk about some different things today and try to see if maybe we could try something else next week that may be more effective for you. Um, how are you feeling overall? Are you still having, like those periods where you're just kind of wanting to stay in the house and not really doing a whole lot, or has any of that changed for you?
Um, I made myself take a walk one Saturday. I didn't really want to, but I was like, okay, like I guess I'll just try it and see what happens. So still kind of feeling some of that, I guess, but I'm trying.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. From our conversations, it does sound like there may be some depression that you're experiencing. I'm not sure if you've ever had that diagnosis or if you know anybody who's, had some depression, but from the symptoms that you've shared with me, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is going on. And it could be from different things. I know you had mentioned that work had been stressful, the kind of loss of that close friendship, the friend that's still kind of there, but not as close. It really could be a variety of things. But I would love to kind of know how you're feeling, having heard that word, if that like brings up any ill feelings, or, if you're ready to dive into some more things that we can work on together.
I'm I'm feeling okay. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense. I didn't want to be that person who was like Dr. Google, but that kind of makes a lot of sense with what I've been feeling. So I'm good with that. It helps kind of, yeah, it just makes sense of what I've been feeling. It honestly feels a little validating to hear that like I'm just not being like lazy or like dramatic. So I'm feeling good about that and definitely ready to like, yeah, get on through this a little bit too.
Okay, great. So, Sam, let me just ask you this. If you were able to have yourself wake up tomorrow morning and all of this depression, all of these feelings that you've been feeling, everything is gone, what would that look like for you?
Oh, okay. I'd wake up and I'd feel rested and my house would be clean. And I'd get up and go like take a walk to go get breakfast at the bodega and like it wouldn't feel like moving through water to go do that.
Mhm.
And then I'd start my work day and just I don't know, just be able to deal with like all the things that come at me and without, I guess, maybe like absorbing them, like making them like my personal problem when it's just like a little work problem. And then I get off of work and maybe go, I don't know, go to like a class or I don't know, like maybe something social. Like I don't know if my friend's not busy, maybe just try to just get out and do something social around people and see if I make a friend and then maybe make dinner and I don't know, just wind down for the night and go to bed.
Yeah, that sounds like, honestly, it sounds like a great time. It sounds like happy and healthy and things are would really be going in the right direction for you. Are you able to think of a time when you did have that kind of lifestyle? So, like, where you were able to wake up and go walk and get breakfast and then come back and start the work day. And then, at the end of the day, go to that class or go out and do something. Is there a time when that, was kind of how your life was?
I think for like maybe the first like few months when I moved here, like or maybe not the first few, but like around when I moved here and made my friend and we'd go out and do all kinds of things together and I'd wake up like energized and ready for the day and my job was still new so it didn't feel like such a drudge. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think there was a lot of that in that time there and then maybe that's kind of gradually faded over the last year.
Okay. Okay. So, what do you think would be helpful to kind of get you back into that point where things are going really well? Um, you know, Obviously you don't expect it overnight or anything like that, but is there anything that you can think of that may help you to where you are able to wake up and go walk to get breakfast and then come back and start the day? Um, with the caveat of obviously we can't control your friends' behaviors or what they're willing to do. But those pieces that you can control, is there anything that you think maybe you could try?
I mean, maybe I could be a little more proactive reaching out to my friend to see if we couldn't just like, have a night scheduled. I haven't really been reaching out as much and thinking about that. Maybe it's not even so much that she fell off that I've just been like maybe a little checked out too. So maybe if we had a little like social time, then like I know that's something to look forward to, but I always feel good after seeing her. And maybe we could even check out something like an activity that I could go do by myself if she's busy too, but it might feel less scary if we go together.
I think that sounds phenomenal. Is that something that maybe you'd be willing to try over the next week to reach out to that friend and just say, hey, maybe you grab dinner or maybe you go see a movie that you've been wanting to see. Does that sound reasonable for between now and next week?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll text her tonight and then I'm gonna maybe look up some fun things like maybe a class or just something that we can get our feet wet with together and see if I like it too.
Awesome. So I think that that is a great place for us to kind of wrap up for today. I do think that starting with that piece, sometimes, starting small makes a world of difference. So maybe if you start with that evening activity, maybe the next morning waking up will feel a little bit easier, as it did in the past. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes for you this week.
Me too. I'm hopeful, which is a big deal. Thank you so much, Heather.
Yeah, of course. Does this time work well for next week?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay, great. I'll see you then, Sam.
Okay, thank you.